This is the Impulsive Thinker podcast, a show for high-achieving ADHD entrepreneurs. Together, we will inform and educate you about how to improve your self-awareness while developing systems, routines, and habits for conquering the entrepreneurial world. Here is your host, André Brisson.
Hey there, I wanted to share with you a conversation I had with one of my clients in the ADHD Transformation Journey program. And we were talking about time blindness, time horizon, and the fact that his to-do lists were always massive and huge and never ending. And it was actually a frustrating thing for him. Or as much as we kept talking about how, use your to-do list like my focus maximizer. You identify the top 3 things you need to do today and stick to those 3 first. And then if you get those done, either you go home or maybe you add to the list, but don't make a list more than 3. And he keeps saying, as much as I'd like to do that, he's not doing it. He can't do it. And after a bunch of back and forth, I decided to stop and talk about look at his to-do list and take a look and see what's on it. So he started rhyming me off a bunch of stuff on his to-do list, which was do some reports, contact someone, follow up, get this information, talk to a staff member. He had figure out a plan to build a building. It's like, okay, that's a project, not a to-do. Needs to be broken down more. Then it started going on some other tasks. I'm going, do you need to do that today? He's like, no, I don't need to do that one today. I said, okay. Went down the list more and more. Again, does that need to be done today? No, that doesn't have to be done until next month. Okay. Went down the list and that some of the stuff doesn't need to be done for a few months from now or even some until next year. So I started looking at it with him and started noticing that this is something... it's a mix of a to-do list and a not-to-forget list, a things-to-remember list. So a lot of the stuff that didn't need to be done today was everything that needs to be done at some point, just not right now. So the list had a lot of things on there that was not required to be done today. Some was either the next day, the following week, the following month, or months down the road, or even next year. Because his comment to me is, I can never get this list done, and it's kind of defeating. It feels like, self-defeating. I'm not happy with myself because I can't get this stuff done. What's going on? But that's the problem. He's got on his list things not to forget. His remember list was a mix between a to-do list and a things to remember list. So I fell in that trap a long time ago, and that's why we have Post-it notes all over the place, things not to forget, a bunch of notes all over the place to make us visually see and not forget. And we need to keep that visual. If not, we lose track of it. So his retort to me was, then fine, how can I keep track of this and not forgetting? Because that's an executive functioning deficit response. We don't want to lose track of it. That's why we have piles. That's why we keep having things close to us so we don't forget it. We don't want to forget it. And he's right, because of the executive functioning deficit. So how do we not forget it or lose it? So if we create systems and processes that we can rely on to know that things are where they should be when we want them, then we don't necessarily need them to be visible at all times. But to start, we need things to be visible so it's clear. So what I started to do is what I would call a dump list. I would have a location where I would just dump things to do. So a bunch of Post-it notes, pieces of paper with random ideas. Then that got too cumbersome. Then I created a things need to get done journal. So everything I needed to get done in there, I would just jot it down because I knew it was all in the same place. So it's not like if it was related to this or related to that, it was always in the same place. So it was always there. But how do I know when I need to pay attention to it? So I kind of use the bullet journal philosophy here. Is you got a couple things here. So, you can group pages or however you want to do it. Everything that needs to be done in January, months before, and you're writing this months before January. In the January section, put whatever that needs to be done. If it's something in March, you think of write it in the March part. If it's this month, you got a this month part. right? So I start dropping all these to-dos, things not to forget, in this dump pile. And if it was on a Post-it note, I would put it in that journal physically. And then later on, I would transfer it over. I can get rid of the Post-it notes because I knew it was there. So when I do my shit list, my weekly planning, I would actually go to the month that I'm looking at, take a look at what needs to be done, and I created another page in there, so things that needs to get done this week. I just wrote what I believe needed to be done this week. Then after that, what I did is then I prioritized what needed to be done. Then I look at what day of the week is supposed to be done by, and then I put it in my shit list and plan those 3 things per day that need to be done. And then from there, every morning, I would go to my shit list, fill out my focus maximizer with the top 3 things I need to do that day. And then the next day, go back to my shit list to figure out that new focus maximizer. And at the end of the week, I go back to my dump journal, things that need to get done journal, to plan the next week. And then when I got to the end of the month, then I would look at the next month that needs to be done to transfer over onto what needs to be done this week. And if something comes about that needs to be done next week or whatever, I would go dump it. So now what happened with my client here is he didn't like the idea of a dump journal. So what we decided is put a bunch of clipboards up on his wall on a hook, and that's where he can put his Post-it notes or jot his what needs to be done. So he actually, believe for this one, it was next year, the next coming months, and then the week. So for this week, he just pulled up, this is what I need to do this month and week. And then pull up, he could look at it, stroke off, and then create his to-do list that sat on his desk on stuff that was achievable and he can get done and make him feel good. And then everything else that came with time, he put it on those dump ones. Or I believe another option was that he can have one clipboard is just to dump ideas, which is my whiteboard on my desk here, that's where I do my dump ideas. And then later on, instead of getting up and filling it out, I got a place to dump it temporarily, and then I'll transfer it over later. Those are a couple shortcuts that you can do. Now, the thing is, the clipboard's on the wall. Why? It's visible. He sees them every day and says, oh, those are stuff I need to do. I don't have to worry about that one because that's way, way down in the future. That's visible future. Can't see it visually, but he sees that board is there. The next one and the next one. So now, how does he fill it out? But it's visible. He sees. And now you got faith that your ideas and things to remember are not going to be lost. We don't have to keep it rambling in our heads. We don't have a bunch of journals or piles of paper or things to remember, or have a to-do list that's 200 things long, but most of it is stuff to remember. So look at your to-do list. How many of that stuff that's on your to-do list is to do that day? And to-do list is very important. You can only do that day. Don't put a list of 200 things you're going to do that day. Just get your top 3 that's going to move you forward. And then after that, what is on there that is not to forget, that's not required that day or the next day, can move those either to another piece of paper that's nearby or on the wall. But let's try to keep our to-do list on tasks that requires one thing to do, not a project that requires a bunch of tasks or things to remember down the road. To-do lists are tasks to do, not a project to-do list or things to remember list. Let me know what you think of this context and this difference. Have a dump page, a dump journal, so everything will be there so you never have to forget. Start on paper, then later on you can actually move it over to an electronic digital service if you have one. But I think we need to start just by writing it so it's out of our way. Post a note somewhere, but transfer it over somehow. So thanks again for listening. Let me know what you think about this and send me an email at André@tacticalbts.com. Thanks for listening. The ADHD transformation program has launched and it's working. Clients are saying it's changed their lives and I am their ADHD hack. So go to tacticalbts.com/ATJP for more information. I want you to join and learn your own ADHD vocabulary and to learn that you're not stupid and we can make you work effectively.
Thank you for listening to the Impulsive Thinker podcast. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion for the show, please visit theimpulsivethinker.com. The Impulsive Thinker podcast is produced by Tactical Breakthroughs and hosted by André. Remember, ADHD is only a part of you, not all of you.